Welcome to MMT Chats. This episode is brought to you by ISCAR with new ideas for machining intelligently. Hey MMT followers, I'm Christina Fuges with MoldMaking Technology, and my guest on today's MMT Chat is Jacob Arsenault with Wepco Plastics. And Jacob is one of our 30 under 30 honorees. So Jacob, I have to say, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So how does it feel to be not only nominated, but to be selected as one of our 30 under 30 honorees?
It feels like a great honor.
So why don't you tell everybody, what is your current position? Like, what do you do every day?
I am a mold maker at Wepco Plastics, and I do everything every day. It's always different.
All right, so why don't you give us a brief snapshot so people can understand where you came from? Because I'm trying to show there seems to be a common denominator among the people that enter into this field. So I like to ask, what were you like growing up? What were your interests? What has been your educational history, your job history, just so they can see how you ended up not only in manufacturing, but at mold making?
Well, cut back to 3-year-old Jacob. I was always a Lego kid, huge Lego kid. And in addition to that, I work on cars, motorcycles on my spare time. And my grandfather and great-grandfather were both tool makers.
Okay.
And my great-grandfather had his own shop when I was growing up. So I got to get some experience there and help out. And it really just kind of opened my eyes and realized how much I love working with my hands and machining.
It's always nice when you have that exposure, and sometimes that's all it takes to have the exposure, knowing that you like to build things and hands-on. You were able to see there's an opportunity for a job, a career in that, where I guess people that don't have that in the family, right, they never know there's actually a career path for something they love to do. So that explains it. So what would you say, how long have you been at Wepco?
I've been at Wepco for about 2 years now.
Okay. So what do you think has been your number one challenge so far in your career there?
My number one challenge definitely has to be being in 10 different places at once here, because we are such a small company that I find myself oftentimes doing 10 things at once.
Multitasking, it's a real thing.
Yes, it is.
And actually, that's great for you, because doesn't that afford you, and I think this is common in smaller companies, more opportunities to learn, right? And to learn different things that you might not in a larger company when you're stuck in one position.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and it feeds into my ADHD. So there's that, and I love it.
There you go. Well, then you must really love mold making, because every mold is different, right? So like nothing's the same ever.
Right? Exactly.
All right, so now that you've been in it for a while, and plus you've been exposed to it growing up, is there a particular misconception about manufacturing or mold making, if you want to get more specific, that you saw was kind of dispelled? The longer you work in it, you realize that that certain perceptions or statements are not true about manufacturing or mold making.
In just cutting back to in high school, it was kind of the general thought that manufacturing trades were for the burnouts, you know, the people who weren't smart enough to get into college.
Yep.
And come to find out, that's entirely opposite.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, you find out you need both to be really strong. You need the book smarts, we'll call it, but you also need the hands-on. You need to be practical and smart. Yeah, and no one's saying don't go to college.
Exactly.
But there is other options out there. It's not for the burnouts. I like how you said that. So what would you say is the most interesting technology that you've been exposed to, whether you've just seen it or you used it, and why?
Definitely the most interesting technology coming into Wepco from what I had experienced was 3D software and CNC. Because I grew up with my grandfather and great-grandfather in their shop, and they had all manual mills, manual lathes. So then coming here and seeing the capabilities of what you can do with 3D machining was mind-blowing to me.
I love that. So your exposure also enables you to see basically before and after, right? It's not your
Yeah.
dad's old, dark, dirty, dingy environment anymore.
Yeah, no, it's more like a lab almost.
Yeah, I like that. What is the most interesting part of your job on a daily basis?
The most interesting part of my job is probably when things come to me that have been either broken or worn out on the molding department side of our company. And a lot of these things that are worn out have been made um, before computers were around,
Oh,
and there's not much, paperwork with them. So you got to kind of reverse engineer.
got it. Problem solving, right? I love that. What would you say is the most interesting project you've had the chance to work on, and what was your role on that project?
Definitely has to be the COVID test swabs we did. We made, I think it's 3 or 4 different molds for different sizes of test swabs. And that was to me the coolest thing because A, they were so intricate and detailed, and B, that's helping save millions of lives.
Yeah, that's real world stuff right there, right? Making an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to workforce development, and I know Wepco is pretty big on this, they have a great culture for mentoring and just training and communication, all that kind of stuff. But mentoring is a hot topic, and everyone kind of defines that differently. How do you, Jacob, define mentoring? And then if you could talk a little bit about how that plays out within Wepco.
hmm So I define mentoring as, yes, there's an older, more experienced person mentoring a younger, less experienced person, but true mentoring is when that older, experienced person also learns from that younger person as well.
I like that. It kind of, yeah, it's a two-way street. That's important because you're right. A lot of people don't think that. They think it's the old guy teaching the young guy, and that's not it. And actually, you're not doing it right if that's the only thing happening. So how does
Exactly.
that play? How does that play out at Wepco?
Um, Me and my mentors who are mentoring me, when we're looking at something, a problem to solve, they bring in all the years of experience that they have, and that's huge. But what really ends up happening is I stop and make them think because of all the variety of experience that I have
Ah,
from working on cars and motorcycles to, you know, growing up with tool makers from a different industry,
hmm.
that there's more than 10 different ways to skin a cat.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's what I wanted to hear is the young, like blatantly sharing and teaching an older generation or seasoned generation.
Mhm.
So thinking about one of the biggest struggles within mold making is finding that next generation, getting young people in middle school, high school excited about careers in this field. What do you think has to change to make it more attractive?
Definitely advertising, because in high school, I knew I wanted to go into the manufacturing trade. I didn't know mold making was a division of that
Uh-huh.
until the CFO of my company came to a job fair at my high school, and we ended up, talking about other stuff than just work. He invited me down for a tour. That's when I found out that, hey, mold making is a trade.
Yeah, in and of itself, right? The most
Exactly.
important part that makes other parts. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's the start of it all. So when you think of an individual coming into this field, what would you say is the top or the number one skill or characteristic that individual needs to make it in this environment?
You just got to be willing to work hard and open to learn.
And last but not least, kind of a tough one. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
That's the hardest question yet. Um, I see myself either still here at Webco, hopefully in a higher position than I am currently, or um, following in the footsteps of my great grandfather, starting my own company.
Nice. Do you see yourself starting a tool shop, a mold shop, or something different at this point? Or you don't know?
Yeah, I really don't at this, and I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
But in my mind, it would be along the lines of a tool and die shop.
That's cool. Well, then keep in touch with me on that because I think that's awesome.
Will
That
do.
is the future generation. Well, that's it. Congrats. Thank you for giving me some time to kind of dig a little deeper into who you are. And hopefully, those watching, I don't know, will spread the news. I'm hoping these things go and we're able to package these and use these to help advertise the people, the real people that are coming into this field. So, congrats again, Jacob, and thank you for your time.
Yep. Thank you. You're welcome.
And to everyone watching, visit MoldMakingTechnology.com for everything mold making. Stay safe and healthy, and most importantly, stay informed and stay inspired.